welcome everybody to the very first episode of the Evercast. We are not affiliated with Evermore. We are just a whole bunch of super nerd fans of Evermore, and we want to get everybody excited about Evermore just like we are. So with that, I am Kazon. I've been going to Evermore since Mythos last year, and it's been an amazing ride. I've been part of 3 guilds. I'm a Blackheart through and through, and I will kick it over to my co-hosts.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aline, and I've been coming to Evermore since Lore 2018, and it's just gets better every season. I think I'm technically an initiate in all the guilds, but I spend my time mostly with the Blackhearts, and you can recognize me in Park because there's usually up to 3 little boys circling around me, like Piranha, actually. So that's me.
Hi, they call me Sly. Usually hang out with the Rangers. I've been attending Evermore since, Lore 2018. That's a long time, guys.
Yeah.
That's, wow. But wintertime, I'm usually looking like this. Summertime, I'm usually passing out because of the heat. So, yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Robin Swift. I'm primarily in the Pirates Guild, although I am an initiate in all of them, and I'm at least a rank 2 in most of them. But I'm a smuggling pirate, so I've been going since Lore 2019. I love it. And if you like pranks and things, I'm always recruiting. We can cut that out. Sorry.
I just realized you're the baby.
I am.
2019, wow.
I'm Pitt, been coming since Lore 2018, also in the Pirates Guild / Knights Guild. Before we get started, I want to kind of explain where this is coming from. We are members of the Everguard, which is a fan group of Evermore. As Kazon said, it's not affiliated with the park. But as specifically, we're fans that are regulars. So we, if we've come more than, I think, 4 times is the requirement, there's a Facebook group called the Everguard. You can search for us. And our main objective is to make sure that, since we share the common passion of going to park, we want to stick together, and even outside of park, get to know each other. And so we host events. And we've been around since, I think, December of last year, 2019. So we are putting on this podcast to kind of build the community. That's us, Everguard. And if you see one of these medallions in park, here's a
yes
image. Yeah.
So there's the patch, and you're showing the medallion.
And even though we're regulars, we also love to help out newbies in the park, help them get their feet under them, get their feet wet. So yeah, come find us.
That's actually been one of the funnest things that I've been doing recently, has been talking to the new ones and to new people and getting to know their experience and why they came and giving them direction. And there was a couple that I talked to at closing night of Lore that they didn't even know there was a story going on. And it was really fun to see that aha moment in their eyes, like, oh, this is just more than a Halloween place. They do it all year long.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Right. Well, let's explain a little bit what the goal of Evercast is before we get digging into the rest of this episode. We wanted to provide more content for fans of Evermore like ourselves, and those of you who have found us so far. We wanted to have more out-of-park content regarding plot updates or opportunities to network and connect with people out of park. So we hope you will join us along this adventure of talking about our favorite thing. I think we could all talk about Evermore for a long time. So some of the things we will have. Oh, go ahead.
No, you said we can talk about it. I said, and we do.
We do. We do.
Yep.
Yeah. We drive our coworkers crazy.
And spouses.
Yeah.
And each other, I'm sure.
No.
I don't know, because sometimes we go in different directions. Because I know that when I talk to Kazon, he wants to talk knights. Who wants to talk about knights? I mean,
Who wants to talk about Rangers?
everybody else.
All right, guys.
All right, I know lore ended with a bit of a guild war there, but
Oh, geez.
Some of the content you can look forward to here at Evercast is reviews from previous seasons, quick summaries and recaps if you are coming to Evermore as a new person and need to know the big picture stories. We will have insider tips and updates of the plot during the season. And if you have any suggestions for content you would like to see included here, we can be contacted at the email address evercastweekly@gmail.com. All right, let's do an intro to Evermore. Let's shoot it over to Chris.
Yeah. Intro to Evermore. What is Evermore? I love the way that the creative director, Chance LePray, puts it. He's like, have you ever wanted to go on a quest with Gandalf? That's what Evermore is. It's technically considered an interactive theme park, except for there's really no rides. Well, except for the train. It's the main focus, I believe, Evermore is it's an escape from reality. It's where it's a safe place for us to gather to go and experience this magical place, be able to leave for a short time, be able to gather ourselves together and be able to leave the woes of modern day society and go on an adventure and meet new people. I personally have made more friends in this past year of going to Evermore than I did 10, 15 years before I found Evermore. And it's all thanks to Evermore. It's about connecting. It's about the connections that we make with the actors, with the world walkers, with the food. The food there is amazing. I could talk about the food all the time, but we'll save that for another part.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Absolutely.
So about the friend thing, like I had friends before Evermore, but now there's no going back. Like no one else gets it like we get it. And that's why we have this community, is we all understand this passion that we love.
And it's
Yes.
amazing how even some of the friends that are made through Evermore don't go. But it's just interesting how you make connections to people that you never would. And some of them come briefly some of them don't come at all. They come like once or twice and then you never see them in park again. But it's interesting how you still see them outside of the park. And it's been a great way to connect with people that normally you never would ever meet.
A lot of different walks of life, different age ranges, 14 to, I don't know.
Old. To old.
Old. Well,
Yeah.
I think I'm the oldest one in this crew. Well, I don't know. Robin, you might be.
I think I'm older than you, but I won't admit to it. Well, I guess
You won't admit to it.
I might be the youngest one here, which is.
Oh no! Yes, I forgot.
You know I'm older than you.
me.
Yeah.
Hush.
She just doesn't act it.
That's right. Why act your age? I don't want to
Never
act
act
like
your
I'm
age.
breaking. Ugh.
I was going to say that you know that Evermore is a really special place for many reasons, but one is when you get to the park and you stand in line, you're as excited to see your fellow world walkers as you are to go inside and see the townsfolk and things. It is such a community. It is all over the place, right? At the time of that we're recording this, there are Facebook groups, there's Discords, there's all kinds of, as people said, places to meet outside of the park. And then, there's the work that we're trying to do, but it is more connected than anything I've ever experienced outside of maybe, I don't know, college dorm or something. It's amazing.
I'm going to embarrass Pitt. When I first started going, I remember Pitt was like the face of the World Walker.
True.
That's like, I always wanted to get to know him. And I don't even know how it happened, but it was a really neat experience because he's very welcoming. I think I talked to him like once or twice. He didn't know me, but he still treated me like I was important. So it was great. He's very welcoming, very kind. Yeah. So it was a great example of what the Everguard is, what we're trying to accomplish.
Right.
I think I met
Awesome.
3 of you at my house for a game night. It is the first time I had an out of park meeting with you. But
That's
Yep.
right.
I think so too. That was a really fun night.
Yeah. we'll do them again. It
Good.
will happen
Yes.
again.
Let's talk about guilds first, because that's a good way to get involved right off the bat. There are lots of guilds in Evermore you can join, and they all have their own quests and storylines. And since we have a pretty good representation of guild members here, we're going to let each person talk about the guild they belong to. Shall we start with Chris?
All right. So like I said in the intro, that I'm Blackheart through and through. But if you have any idea about my ever story, what has happened to Kazan, I've had the opportunity to bring other characters to Park, and I've been able to join and rank up in the Knights and the Coven. If you ever see me with the giant sword, that's my Knight character. Don't be afraid to come and say, "Oh my goodness, are you overcompensating?" And I'll say, "No, I'm not."
And that's Cars. Right?
that is Cars.
That is Cars.
And the Knights, they are the protectors evermore. They are the ones that are in the front line. They are the ones that bleed so that the citizens don't have to. They are the police force, and Sly and I got into it a couple of times. So that's the Knights. Then I have another character that I brought in during lore, which was something fun and kind of unusual. I brought in one of my D&D characters. Her name is Maya, and she is a caster all through and through. She's a warlock in D&D, so of course I went straight to the Coven with her. And I've always loved Kulin, and so she's decided that I'm going to learn magic through Kulin. And so the Coven is the spellcasters, and Evermore has actually put in a system that us world walkers can actually cast spells and somewhat assist the Evermorians, which was really fun to watch during some of the epics during Pyra. It was really fun to see them put that system into place.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was very interesting. It was fun to watch. I would remember they were doing something with sonothergy with Sir Kalyri. And when they started doing it, I could feel the tingle in my back, going up my back. I'm like, okay, there is something going on here. And so they have that in there. So why don't we kick it over to the Blackhearts?
Absolutely. So that's for me. The Blackhearts are the monster hunters of Evermore. Even though every Blackheart will help out as needed with a particular problem or issue, most of them will specialize in a particular kind of monster or problem. And you might think hunters, they must be very all bows and arrows or guns and very martial. And some are, but some are more than others. So at the moment, and this is right after Lore 2020, in the Blackhearts, there is an undead specialist. It might be more traditional, what you think of as a monster hunter, but there's also a Blackheart who is a specialist in occult contracts. So if you can think of agreements that are perhaps had a little bit too much unfair advantage from some demon that was trying with someone on a widget contract or something. It's more exciting than that, but that is that Blackheart specialty. And each guild in Evermore has 3 tenets or characteristics that sort of define the guild and their view on life. So for the Blackhearts, it's bravery, strength, and wisdom. And one of the things I like about the Blackhearts is those sound very straightforward and sort of traditional, sort of epic fantasy traits. But part of becoming a Blackheart is understanding, what does that mean to you? What is bravery in different kinds of scenarios? What is wisdom? What is strength? And part of that is what it means to you, as I said, but also how different Blackhearts conceive of those differently. So it varies from person to person. I like to think of the Blackhearts as more pragmatic than idealistic. We're problem solvers, and they're the people you want in your corner when things are getting dicey.
Do you have a specialty?
My specialty is hybrids. At the moment, I'm a 5th level, I think, and so is my son, actually. But my specialty is hybrids, so things like chimeras or harpies.
Nice.
All right, shall we talk about pirates?
Yeah. So I'm obviously a pirate, and the pirates are. I want to touch on something that Kazan said. Being in a guild kind of gives you that opportunity to be part of the story. I think anyone can be, but there's something about ranking up in the guild. I think you build trust with those characters. And when there's opportunities in the story for the pirates or the coven to be involved, it's easier for you as a world walker to be injected into the story, which is really cool. One of those things that really brings Evermore to life. The pirates were really big in the summertime, the Pyra season. In the Pirates Guild, once you get to rank 5, you become an official captain. And one of the neat things there is you get to form your own crew. So you get to participate in helping out with initiations, guild initiations, and you get to help other people rank up. And one of my favorite things to do in Park is interact with these new world walkers and people who are just starting to become regulars. And really in the Pirates, I've been able to really embrace that. And it's been a lot of fun, feeling like Robin can attest to this. She's one of the other pirate captains in the guild, but just feeling like you have a say in your guild. And there was a point where we were actually helping out with creating the requirements for lower levels to rank up, which was kind of neat. So we got to be creative, and that's to me, even though our tenants are lucky, gutsy, and free, I feel like the pirates have an opportunity to be creative in a non-bardic way, I guess. We get to make maps, and we get to make riddles and hide our flags in Park. So many fun things to do. Stage smuggling events. We have a lot of fun, and we can be mischievous. As Robin said, we're a bunch of pranksters. Am I missing anything, Robin?
That sounds pretty good. I mean, I also pitch it with, if you like loot, that's the good guild to be in.
Yeah.
It's changed a little bit with COVID, but traditionally the pirates have the most loot going on.
Oh, there's 3 different, I guess, schools or classes of pirate. You got the swashbucklers, the scouts, and the raiders. So you kind of have the swashbucklers will include like smuggling and things like that. The scout is more of like navigation and exploration, and then the raiders are the fighters of the pirates. So both Robin and I are swashbucklers.
Are you sure you have that right? Because I think they said raiders were the smugglers.
I'm pretty sure it's the raiders are the fighters. Are you trying to trick me?
No, they've changed the names of the specialties. So
yeah, the swashbucklers became raiders, and the smugglers became swashbucklers. So it's a little confusing. That's why they need us to organize things. Anyway, Rangers up next. Sly?
Rangers. Well, if the Knights are the front lines, the tanks, the Rangers would be those that are supporting snipers from afar, the spies in the back, the decoders, the encoders, the people that make sure that the Knights can coordinate their attacks. I like how Thaddeus said they are at their best when they fight together. And it was a fun thing to see the Knights and the Rangers come in and fight in the battle arena during Pyra. It was a great thing to see. So we have the 3 tenets, which are skill, stealth, and cunning. And once you get to rank 5, they have you choose a branch, and they start working on skill is usually with the bow. Stealth is dealing with how to hide, how to get from one place to another without people recognizing you. And cunning has a lot to do with ciphers, which has been really neat. They had the opportunity in Park recently. There was a big plot point, and it was to decode ancient writing. And the Rangers took point on that, helping people to do that to help out with the Knights problem. It was a lot of fun. That was the highlight. That was one of the times that the Cunning Rangers got to really shine. Stealth Rangers, we get a chance to play. Usually we're in the back. We're a little quieter. Well,
wait, hold on a second. Sly, you're the quiet one?
Hey, people don't understand. I'm loud until I'm not. And so people don't know to look for me when I'm not loud. And then, of course, the skill rangers, they get to play during the time where the archery's out, the range is out. So during lore, it was the rangers and the knights were right next to the battle arena and the range, respectively. And there was a lot of amazing archery going on. So hopefully the next time those are open, people can come by and see all that going on. And characters in Park, we had one that was named Ganarin, one named Heron. The two of them were fantastic shots. One being able to literally curve an arrow, while the other one was able to knock an apple off of another person's head. There was some amazing shooting going on. So hopefully we'll get to see that again in the future.
Awesome. All right. I believe that just leaves the Bards Guild. And so I will talk about it. We do not have a high ranking bard on our hosting staff at the moment, but I'm a rank 2 in it. So the Bards' 3 tenets are passion, bravado, and artistry. And they are the ones who are the moral support of the town. So they will use their music. There's magic in Evermore connected to music. And so they will write songs that have different magical influence on the characters or the town itself. And you do not have to be only a performing arts type of person to be a bard, because they also include the artists with visual art and the historians of town. And so you do not have to be an extroverted personality in order to be a really awesome bard. So they're super fun. They also have lots of improv games happening almost every night and performances that you can go watch whether you're in the guild or not. But their reputation is generally as a really fun guild to be a part of if you like games. So check them out if that sounds like your cup of tea. All right, now that we've covered some of the guilds, you know what those options are at this time in Park. Let's talk about what else you can do, because there are a lot of things you can do other than joining a guild and working on guild sanctioned projects.
So the Glass House is one of the buildings in Evermore where you can go, and during the summertime, it has air conditioning. It's a great place to just cool off. And during the wintertime, it's a very warm place. So basically you go there to hide from the elements and you get a great show. The ladies and gents there that put on the show, they explain things about animals. Sometimes it is about weapons that relate to certain cultures. During, was it Pyra or beginning of lore, they had monster classes. So they've spruced it up. There's story built around them. The people that run it are fantastic. All of them know who they are. They are amazing.
Great. What else? Anybody else want to pitch in of things to do in Park? There are a lot of opportunities.
I feel like there are a million things on this list. So just a laundry list of things. You got the train. You've got, recently we had the haunt that you could walk through. Probably won't be around in Aurora, I'd imagine. Instead, they might be doing epics. I know they did that over the summer where it's like a choose your own adventure with a small group going through kind of a quest. You've got just the random one-off quests where you ask a character if they need help and they send you on a wild goose chase. You've got just chilling with characters around a campfire and just hanging out, which I really like. You got the archery range, you got the axe throwing, you've got
Knife throwing.
Yeah,
knives there too.
I mean, what else? I know I'm missing there's so many things.
There's always a lot of activities that guilds do that are not guilds exclusive. Like the Blackheart Hunters will often have hunts that happen at certain times of night, right, and anyone can go do it. And those are fun multi-step quests. Or
the riddles.
Yes. And the bards often have performances that are really fun. There's fire dancing. Lofty is a very good fire dancer. Just love him and his art.
They have the carnival games during lore season.
There was a circus this last season, and so there was a big circus tent, and you could go in and see magic shows and aerialists. They had silk dancers and things like that.
There's places to shop. Now there are vendors in town. So go check them out. Jim Odysseus has a great shop. They all have great shops. I just happen to know him, and he makes fantastic items. I know some of you have shopped at the other places, so please throw out names. But
the other one that shares a Odysseus's tent is the Geek Granny. They make amazing headdresses and hats, and they both, Jim and the Geek Granny, they are permanent vendors. They're not going to go anywhere. They're going to stay there. The rest of the vendors that are there, they might come and go with the season. I know that the Shadow Shop is probably going to say they'll only be there during lore just because of
actually,
their
I'm going
wares.
to jump in there. Shadow Shop's actually my sister, and yeah, she's hoping to come to Aurora. She's big into woodworking, so she wants to kind of pivot to like Christmas wood, like gifts, like cutting boards and toy wood boards and whatnot. So she's trying to become a permanent vendor, but yeah, Shadow Shop.
Also, Teeny Cow is another one that's really awesome. She does a lot of handmade stuffed animals, and we have just loved them. They're gorgeous, and she's been the proprietor there, who makes it all herself, has been super generous with my son as he tries to come in with his little allowance money, and she'll like just give him the cutest discounts for doing things for his guild. So she'll have him do performances since he's a bard, and she'll give him a discount on whatever it is he's trying to buy that he doesn't have enough money for. So.
There's also Septimus Jack with the dragon attire, the scales and things like that. And I know there's others that sold beautiful jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's I don't know who they are. I didn't remember their name, but they're the blacksmiths. Everything they've made, and they actually have a shop, I believe, in Provo, that they make all of their it's amazing stuff that they make. My wife actually put in a commission for some hand tools from gardening tools. So there's some of my money going to go. But
great.
Where was that? Oh, Battle Arena.
Yeah.
Battle Arena. That's my favorite. Like I said, if you see me with the giant sword, don't be afraid of it. It's mainly intimidation factor. They say I'm good with it, but I think they're sugarcoating everything.
No.
You can ask Sly about it.
Can I
say otherwise? Anyways.
Can I ask a question to each of you? What is your favorite, I guess, method of world walking? What do you like to focus on when you're in park?
So it depends on if I'm actually part of the story.
Yeah.
I like just walking around and listening. So even though I appear to be extroverted, a lot of times I have a hard time approaching and talking to people directly. So to introverts out there, it's really a great thing. You just nonchalantly walk up, sit down next to somebody who's having a conversation, or just walk into the group that's already having a conversation and listen. You can gather a lot of information that way. And people, if they call you out, just be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking for," and name a random location. And yeah.
You're giving away all your secrets.
Not all, just enough. But I know plenty of people have a hard time walking up and communicating with the actors and even with other world walkers. So legitimately at first, if all you can do is just sit back and listen, you'll find that the stories are advanced through information. And if you happen to pick up just the right bit of information at the right time, and then you share it with someone who may communicate a little bit better, that's fine. If you're in the shadows and you talk to people that are a little bit more open, then no one will ever suspect that you're the one picking up the information. So don't think just because you're not good with people that you can't have fun at Evermore.
And that's actually a big point that we did not mention. Of all the things we mentioned you could do at Evermore, I'd say the most common thing for most regulars is information gathering for story points.
Yeah,
that's a huge part of world walking.
Yeah. You know, something else that we don't mention, but happens when the tavern is not in use for an epic or for the haunt, is go to the tavern and enjoy the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times there are shanties being sung. The pirates generally hang out there. And so it is there's the feel of a tavern. They sell drinks there still, right? They still drinks there. Yes. Okay. Don't want to false information, but you got drinks there. You got people that are trying to join the pirates. So they have things like embarrass yourself, sing a shanty, do all these things. And there's stuff going on. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, you'll have a shanty war. They'll divide the tavern into two sides. They sing the shanty, and it's who can sing it the loudest. And it's a lot of fun. You get a lot of energy out, and you get to feel a lot of the energy coming back in.
The atmosphere is a huge part of Evermore as well. They've imported so many authentic artifacts from Europe to make the town really feel like out of this world, at least out of Utah.
Yeah.
You know, another thing that we haven't been able to do because of COVID, but before what was huge was trading. You know, of course, now you can go and buy things from the vendors, but before we had to, in park, they call it the cholera. People used to bring things to trade with World Walker to World Walker, but also people, Evermoreans would trade things as well. And that was something that it was especially fun for my kids, was to try to find or make some trinket at home and then bring it in and see what they could wheedle out of somebody for it.
I agree. That was actually the thing that brought me back to Evermore after my first visit, was the trinket trading was just so fun. And that was the thing that piqued my interest to try it out the first time as well. So that's why I went into smuggling and piracy for my character, because there's cool stuff, cool trinkets.
Really cool stuff.
Love the cool
And
stuff.
it's fun to find out what a character might want.
Mm-hmm.
For example, Kyra, at one point I was trying to trade with her, and she agreed to trade with me as long as I brought in a music box. So I actually brought one into park, and a lot of characters are like that. They're looking for certain things, and it really makes the game a little more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I remember back then I got a necklace that had a Pokemon symbol on it, you know, the Pokeball.
Yeah.
And I gave it to Lavinia, and I explained to her that you put this over, it was Ollie. And as you do it, you guys, I choose you. Yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. And I also did that with Kyra and Jasper, and they got a good laugh at it, because I think at the time there was some World Walkers there who were like, yeah, now you can only talk in your name, like Jasper. And of course he did it because it was Jasper, and it was a good laugh. So that was a lot of fun doing things like that. You know, we probably want to go over vocabulary too.
Okay, so what is a World Walker? The World Walker would be somebody that pays to get into the park, the patron.
Yeah.
Evermorean is somebody that actually just lives in park, is one of the actors there. That's where they live. What other terminology do we need to go over?
Baybox means phone.
I know you briefly touched on it, but what exactly the epics are? Because when you go in and say the epics are that way, like, what is that?
So most of the time, story is linear. You know, you go to the park every day and it's different. Story progresses. But with the epics, they give you the opportunity to redo the same story over and over again in just half-hour, sessions with a group of people. And so you can do the same story over again and see if you can get a better outcome.
And then afterwards, every 2 weeks.
Yeah, the endings of what was the endings that were achieved were tallied, and then it would actually affect the main story. So it would affect outside of the epic.
One thing I'd like to add, making sure we cover, is that when I first started attending for several weeks, I didn't realize how complex and involved the storylines in Evermore were. First of all, I didn't realize it was a continual story, that each night they're open is a new chapter in the story. And then you have every single character that's in the town, which is sometimes 40 actors or more. They all have their own storylines. And so you could spend all night talking to one character, finding out what their goals are and their challenges. And they all have these very complex relationships with everybody else in town. And so you could spend the whole time with one person, just talking to them, and not learn everything there is to know about that person. So definitely dig and get to know the locals. The actors are amazing. And the writing team is just absolutely brilliant. I am just blown away every season with how they plant clues early in the season, or even seasons in advance. They'll have clues planted to get a character arc to a certain place later on in the year. And just absolutely brilliant.
Maybe to cite an example, with Sir Kalyri being bit by a vampire this last season, there was the shadow texts that were released. Was it a year ago?
They started, the first page was found in Mythos during, I think, when the burning of the barn. That was one of the clues, was one of the pages.
Like 2019 Mythos or 2000?
Mythos 2019. Yeah.
Wow. So almost a year and a half, they released these ancient manuscripts that needed to be deciphered, and it told a story of what took place 1,000 years ago, right? Or older.
About that.
And it ended up relating to this story this last season. But yeah, all kinds of little Easter eggs here and there that you can stumble upon.
Yes, if you like
I have a question.
this is your place.
I have a question I like to pose to everybody. Since we've been regulars and we've been through some, like Aurora last year with the linear story, and then when they went to Pyro with the epics, what are your theory? What style of storytelling do you guys prefer? The epics where everybody can actually come in and see what's going on a nightly basis, and kind of in one of us regulars that are diehard, we're there as much as we can, or somebody that's their first night and they're exploring Evermore and they have the exact same chance, where before, even with the lore, with the 2020 lore, where the story was out in the midfield, where you actually had to dig and find it. What are your thoughts on those two story points?
Lore was really hard. I wasn't there as often as I usually am, but lore for me felt a little bit more difficult, the story to follow. I felt like things were changed to get to where they needed to. But what I liked about lore this time around, though, was the fact that there was a carnival atmosphere. So that was another thing. It kind of distracted. So you'd go to try to find and learn something, but you're like, oh, games, going this way now. So they had a lot of cool things that were there. You really just had to ask, but there was also a lot of great distractions. So yeah, it was just like, oh, oops, what was I doing again?
Yeah.
Anyways, Aline?
Well, there's no format that I don't love, but I really liked the epics. Pitt asked a little while ago about what's our personal style of world walking, and I just need to know. I need to know what's happening. I need to know what's happening with everything. It's compulsive. Those of you who are completers in video games, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you just need to know. But the problem is I'm not actually very good at it. I rely on those of you who are better at digging, and then I can help you put pieces together maybe. But it's so with a season like Lore 2020, which was fantastic, it was so hard to know everything that was going on, as contrasted most immediately with the Pyra epics structure, which I really liked, because any given epic would be for 2 weekends. So you could go during those 2 weekends if you wanted to do that epic 8 or 10 times, you certainly could, but you could do it once and know that at least that bit of the story, you weren't going to miss out on that. And you could go and do your guild quests, or you could, like for me, I'm often spending time with my kids, and it just took some of the pressure off for me to this compulsion I have to know what's going on. But all the structures are fantastic. I have no complaints.
I agree with Lee. There's good points to both approaches, and so the pros and cons kind of balance out, and I'm happy with either one. I loved being able to work on the epic with intention and know going into the epic what the storyline was and what my mission was in it. But I also really liked how lore was more organic, and you had to do a lot more talking to other world walkers to find out what the big picture is from the story, because it was impossible to know everything with lore 2020. There's just so many concurrent storylines. And I do like that coming together outside of Park with other world walkers, either on the Discord channel or Facebook, and seeing what everybody knows and putting all these pieces together and getting an idea of the big picture. So they're both good.
I don't know if you guys knew, but during the epics, if you went to your guild, they usually had something in the epic. So like for Rangers, there was a string code that was located on either people or places. I don't know about the other guilds, but there was usually something that you would go into. And if you had talked to your guild, learned what that was, then you would get information that normally you wouldn't. And it was kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. If I could circle back to Pitt's earlier question about how we like to world walk.
Yeah.
I've had 2 very different experiences. When I first started coming, I would always go straight to the Pirates Guild because that was my home in town, and it would give me something to do when I didn't know very many of the characters in the other parts of town. And So I felt like I had purpose every time I went. The Pirates Guild had something to do. But then as I became more familiar with the different characters and stories, I found a lot of personal pleasure in delving into my own sort of experiences, like picking a couple characters and doing a deep dive on their storyline and becoming an integral part of their objectives. And like, for example, Titus is a great example. He was a villain that was introduced in the Pirate season. And there was a very small like footnote on his backstory that he could be redeemed. And it was really fun to work with some other World Walkers to redeem this villain and turn him into an asset of the town and help him want to be a different person. And that was incredibly satisfying for me. It was great fun. And we had lots of things to figure out how to get into his mind and help him want to change or help him find value. And we had lots of fun smuggling weapons in for him and things. So you could do that with different characters and do a deep dive and have your own very unique experience within the town that way.
I like that. I'll share what I like to do when I world walk. It's kind of changed as well. When I came the first season, Lore 2018, I kind of treated Evermore like a video game where I wanted to influence the story. I wanted to be a hero of the story. And, I lucked out because at the end of Lore, they picked 5 people and I was one of them to kind of save the day at the end of the season. And it felt great. But then Aurora came around and I was like, well, now what? I beat the video game and I don't expect to win every season. And, there's thousands of people coming. So this isn't a viable model to help everyone feel like a hero. And so I kind of shifted and realized that, Evermore is more of like it's escapism. It's a world outside your normal world where you can feel comfortable and feel safe and maybe have the courage to do things you wouldn't normally do and be your truest self, at least for me. And so Evermore kind of shifted to become a place where I could just make friendships with the characters, but as we said before, with other world walkers. And so my favorite style of world walking is just to meet people. And for fun, same as Robin, kind of doing creative and unique things that might not have been planned. For example, hooking up 2 characters that you might think would be a romantic interest, or coming up with a plan with a character just between the 2 of you to do some kind of prank, those kind of things.
I wanted to also mention other things you can do at Evermore that are not guild associated is that during the week when they're not open to the general public as a theme park experience, they have something called master classes. And those are really, really fun. They teach archery and stage fighting, acting. And so you can sign up for those on their website. And they're on a day that the park is usually closed. So like a Thursday night during most seasons. And it's really fun to get into the park when it's behind the scenes, if you will, when there's not a production happening. And my experience with the acting classes have been fabulous. I mean, you have great teachers there. Chance and Mallory are fabulous at what they do. So you're getting some really awesome instruction. So that's another thing to check out.
And you can also eat.
Yes, the
food,
yes.
because it's amazing. The food changes from season to season. It's phenomenal. I still daydream about the squash soup from Lore 2018. Everything is really, really impressive. And there's going to be a full service, more formal restaurant opening very soon, from what I understand, Vander's Keep, which I believe, people will correct me if I'm wrong, that you will be able to go to the restaurant without going to the park.
Yes.
That is correct. They will be open, from what I understand, 7 days a week. It's going to be a full restaurant. The food there is, if you think Evermore food is great, Vander's Keep is right on par, actually better than. And my wife got an invite to go to the tasting before they open. And the chef is amazing. His food and the way he makes everything, it's all he does it all right there. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be very, very delicious. I can't rave more about it. And if you guys have had the opportunity to go look into the dining area of Vander's Keep recently, they have the Aurora map up on the wall, but they also have the most coveted map of all, the Mythos map.
No.
They have it up on the wall. It is amazing. Just perusing the Evermore website, they're working on an online store, and they actually have that map for sale on the website. I don't know if it's complete ready, but it's there. And
nice.
So transitioning to also do things that we can do there with Aurora, they're getting set up. I know Pitt has helped with setting up the seasons with, I don't know, I think he said, what did you say, 5 miles of lights?
Yeah, we counted how many feet, and it came out to like 5 miles of Christmas lights.
Amazing.
That's
untangling those lights were
a special kind of fun.
Yeah, it was fun, I guess.
I believe that's what they're going to be doing again. I don't remember where I was perusing Facebook earlier today, and I heard that Aurora is north of North Pole is their working title that they're putting out there. So there's a little teaser for you guys right there.
I will also say that this might be a bit of a tangent, but a lot of times World Walkers have their own kind of fun things that are being done and that are not guild specific. And by getting to know other World Walkers, you can be part of those fun things. Like Pitt and Sly talked about, having specific little storylines they're trying to push. Just talk to other World Walkers, ask them what they're doing that night.
Sometimes World Walkers themselves have stories to tell, so they can be just as much fun. And sometimes you inadvertently find that your story connects really well with another person's story, and it's a lot of fun.
It's fun to tie backstories together and, come up with a way that you and another World Walker might have, known each other in your backstory.
I got to write a backstory for my character. I don't have one.
If you guys have the chance, ask Sly for his. It's actually really fun.
All right, Sly.
Yeah, that's, do I know you well enough? I don't know you. Which is, by the way, oh my gosh. Okay, so when you go World Walk, understand one thing. It is kind of like when you're playing a video game, but unlike a video game, you don't get to just walk up to somebody, push a button, and they will respond to you. Okay? You actually have to do the work. It's as simple as, hi, my name is fill in the blank. What's your name? It's really that simple.
Not, do you have a quest for me?
Yeah, or don't go up. Oh my gosh. Don't go up to them and be like, tell me what to do. I'm pretty sure they're thinking to themselves, you can go to a special place. But anyways, you got to talk to them, and you can't demand. Well, I mean, you can. You could try seeing what demanding things gets you. So just be aware that treat them the way you would like to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very interesting thing. And sometimes people are willing to give you information without any effort. And sometimes people will make you work so hard for it. And it's just a matter of gaining trust.
Right. Or like I had some information I was trying to get from a character who had notorious sketchy background. And the only way he would give me information is if I beat him in a duel. And so I had to go learn how to sword fight and then duel him in the battle arena before I could get the information I was looking for. So it varies from character to character.
Yeah.
And it's what you're asking.
I was on a quest for Riva's character. She said, go find me hats. So I tried to get one from Bartholomew. He's like, the only way you're getting my hat is if you get Phillips. I got Phillips. And he looked at me like, how in the world did you get that? I was like, don't worry about it. Give me your hat. Yep, it was great. It was great. It was great. So, and it's the most random of things. You just go up. Riva is a character in Park that is very fun and very chaotic. And she just wanted hats that night.
Should we segue into some more first-timer tips?
Just some tips for first-timers. So one thing we may not have made fully clear here is that this is a town. So you will come in through the gate and you will be in town square. And there are buildings that look like a roughly Victorian town. There's a garden. As you've heard us refer to, there's a battle arena, there's a tavern, there's a place called the Burrows that might be what your impression is of a hobbit hole. There's lots of structures and there's lots of open space. When you first come in through, it can be a little overwhelming. So the tip I always give is when you come in through the gate, look for the Evermorians. There will be several near the gate who are waiting to welcome you, particularly if you're coming in through at around the start time. You can recognize an Evermorian by the special pendant that they wear. Sometimes they glow, sometimes they don't, but it's distinctive. And anyone who has that pendant is a person who is in the part of the town and who you can speak to. And as Sly was saying, introduce yourself to one of them. Tell them your name, ask theirs, and then tell them it's your first time in town. And they will really take it from there. They know what to do to steer you towards what's going on that night so that you'll have a great experience. And they are very, very good at guiding you to the thing to do next. Sometimes that's things that people can get hung up on. Well, what do I do next? And if you tell people it's your first time, they'll be able to really point you in a good direction. Other tips, the town is essentially a large circle. There's a paved path that goes around more or less and also in a circle. Take a route through town. Just take a lap, walk through, get to see the buildings, make a note of where the food is that you want to try later or try it right then, and get a sense of the space and what's going on. When you first come through, there's a building nearby called the Kettle Cafe and Mercantile. Check in to see if they have any maps or other introductory materials. Sometimes they hand those out in line, sometimes they don't, but it's always a good idea. I always check in the Kettle Cafe because you never know when that season's coin is going to be there. They do commemorative coins for each season, and I may have a small obsession with those, but you can also often get a map. And in past seasons, they have also sometimes had things like a printout of some ideas to get you started on a quest or a puzzle to work on. As Sly was saying, when you introduce yourself to an Evermorian, do it just like you would introduce yourself to a new acquaintance from anywhere. Ask them, what do they do? Where are they from? Is anything on their mind tonight? Do they need any help? These are questions that can open up paths for you when you don't know what else to do. We covered the guilds in pretty good depth. That's always a good place to go if you feel like you're at a bit of a loose end. You can initiate in as many guilds as you would like, at least right now. So you could do any of their starter tasks and you won't be binding yourself to permanently a black heart, although obviously that would be a good decision. And then I just wanted to do some practical tips. The food lines can get long, so it can be easier to eat earlier in the evening than later if you're someone who, some of us, I know it gets to be, they start to ring the bell that it's closing at midnight. You're like, oh, I don't think I've eaten anything the whole time. But if you know you're going to want to eat, you may want to do that earlier rather than later. During the summer especially, be sure to drink enough water or hot chocolate or whatnot. You'll do more walking than you think you will. And it is, of course, a dry climate. There are drinking fountains near in the front. And then if you see an Evermorian walking somewhere purposefully, they've got a look in their eye and they're walking with direction, follow that person. So it may be that they're just that's what's on their mood tonight, is they feel like walking around, but something may be about to happen. Similarly, if you see a crowd gathering, social distance appropriately, but something interesting is also probably about to happen. I'm not sure we've mentioned that in addition to all these open direction quests that you can do, tasks you can set yourself or be set, there are also frequently more like set pieces between the characters, where these are scenes that are more planned and that tend to drive the plot forward. So if you see one of those, by all means, stop and watch. Something great is going to happen.
And read the room. You want to make sure you're not asking for a quest in the middle of a big scene.
True.
Oh, and sometimes I remember in Lore 2018, there was a smaller scene between two of the Rangers and they were fighting. And it was like me and one other person that actually was there to see it at first. And you want to jump in, you want to stop them because you can't. you can't, guys. That's not your place. You got to give the actors their room. Sometimes they do call for people in guilds to take part in certain things, but as much as you want to jump in and you want to pull somebody off of somebody and it's not appropriate, you have to sit back and watch. You can use your words, but You got to let those things pan out.
The line where you draw participation at Evermore is kind of a gray one that you kind of don't get until you've been a few times.
Yeah.
You know, as far as, well, how far can I take a prank? How far can I harass characters, especially villains? It really, you got to get the feel of it first, and then you'll understand what the writers and creators of Evermore have laid out as kind of the standards. It takes a while to get used to that line that's drawn.
What I like to think about that with the line of interactive is when the first few times you go there, think of it as a kind of like a stage show. You're not going to really interact. You're not going to be able to change the plot or anything as for a stage show. But as you develop the relationships with the actors, with the characters, they will invite you to join the tableaus. I remember during the big freeze is when Kirsten brought in Jakul and Ginley to help free everybody. She had developed those relationships with Jakul to be able to do that. She felt comfortable enough to do that. And you, it's just like with me giving Sly such hard time, is that he and I have developed a relationship that if I can't give anybody else this much hard time like I do Sly. It's just, they're real. Think of the Evermoreans as real people, that you need to make sure that you have their trust before you start interacting on these more deep developed relationships.
Yeah, the town has a culture. It really does. And I said that not to say that there's a barrier to entry. You know, that's one of the things that I think we're pretty passionate about with the Everguard, is we want to help people to really feel part of the community that we all feel. But the town does have a culture, and it takes a little bit of time to get accustomed to it and to understand, okay, this is the way that we'll get things done smoothly, and this is a way that, you know, as you said, we read the room and perhaps try a different approach.
Mm-hmm. We want to thank everyone for joining us here with Evercast. Please find us in Park. We are always happy to help fellow fans find their way. And if you have suggestions or want to reach out, you can contact us at evercastweekly@gmail.com. Thank you so much.
You can't screw this up. I mean, not even I can do that.
So we were like Nazi soldiers.
Being able to beat children, that's fun.
Please take out the part where I was giving the Knights a hard time, because that was directed specifically at Chris, and I don't want them. Please take that out.
We are always welcoming newcomers to come join us in the whatever. Wow, I can't talk. Please.
Oh my gosh, too hot in here for this.